when hundreds of people mysteriously died in the silence of the night in an African country. There have been numerous incidents around the world that have raised many questions, but experts are still trying to find the answers. Welcome to InfoGrabber Channel. One such incident occurred in the African country of Cameroon, where several people died in the silence of the night. A survivor of that mysterious night in Cameroon described the event.
Around 11 o'clock at night, when I woke up, despite being conscious, I was unable to get out of bed. I felt a strange unease and couldn't understand what had happened to me.
This happened on August 21st, 1986. By morning, the residents of several villages in northwestern Cameroon discovered that many of their friends and neighbors had died in the darkness of the night.
When I stepped outside my house in the morning, I saw many people lying unconscious in the streets and alleys. Many of them were dead. That night, 75 people died in our village.
However, it is said that the actual number of deaths that dark night was much higher than reported. Experts explained that toxic gases from a volcanic crater lake caused the tragedy. These gases killed 1,746 people in one night, and the disaster did not stop there, as around 3,500 livestock also perished. All the victims lived in villages around Lake Nyos, near the country's border with Nigeria. The devastation was so severe that the president of Cameroon appealed for international help. For several weeks, efforts were made to understand what had happened. The investigation in the area attracted a large number of scientists and environmental experts from around the world. Among them was British Dr. Peter Baxter, who arrived in the region about 2 weeks after the tragedy.
When we arrived, the bodies of people and animals were still scattered across the mountains. When we reached the village of Nyos, which had small mud houses, there was complete silence, and no signs of life were visible. When we approached Lake Nyos, which is accessible after climbing a small hill, we saw that the water was calm, but on the surface of this calm water, there were numerous dead fish, and along its shores, there were many dead and lifeless plants.
Dr. Peter mentioned that if they saw anything alive at the edges and in the water of this lake, it was frogs, which are said to be very resilient.
When we reached Lake Nyos, the scene left me stunned. My body began to chill. Death was visible everywhere. In that village, all the people and animals had died. There was silence everywhere, no signs of life, just buildings narrating the horror of the event. The silence of that village was very painful. There was no sign of a storm, flood, or any other natural disaster. The surface of the lake appeared red and brown, with many plants floating in it. These plants had broken off from the lake's edges due to the large waves generated in the lake. This transformation in the lake had nearly eradicated all the vegetation within it.
Evidence suggested that a wave about 40 meters high had formed as a result of changes at the bottom of the lake, but no one yet knew what caused this change or how and why hundreds of residents in the area died. One suspect cause that repeatedly came up was the belief that these deaths were due to gases released from a volcanic eruption.
There was no report of a major explosion due to a volcanic eruption, nor were there any signs of the destruction that typically results from such an eruption. We were facing a situation where many people had died, but the ground and the buildings they lived in had suffered very little damage.
An eyewitness recounted,
"I was very close to death, but then I decided to drink olive oil. Immediately afterward, I vomited, expelling a black substance that smelled like eggs or gunpowder."
This explanation helped unravel the mystery behind the deaths in the village and provided a crucial clue. It was determined that thousands of tons of carbon dioxide gas had been released from the bottom of the lake and flowed down the volcanic slope into the valley below.
But when we examined the lake and began analyzing samples, we found that there was no sulfur in the water or in the plants around the lake that had been exposed to the gas clouds. Understanding these results was very challenging.
It appeared that carbon dioxide had been accumulating at the bottom of the lake for years. George Kling explained that since the lake is very deep and the upper layers do not mix with the lower layers, the gas forming in the lower layers gets trapped between them. This causes it to be released with great pressure after a long period. Scientists liken this effect to what happens when you shake a bottle of champagne and then remove the cork. One astonishing aspect of this incident was that while hundreds of people died due to the gases released from the lake, some individuals survived despite being exposed to the carbon dioxide. Most of the survivors were children. It was estimated that the gas had covered the houses at night while the children were sleeping inside, but their parents were still outside.
Some survivors woke up to find dead people around them. Surviving the exposure to the gas was a matter of luck. The gas quickly renders you unconscious, and those who survived felt as if they had been unconscious for a long time, more than 10 hours, until they regained consciousness. By daybreak, as the sun started to warm the ground, the gas dissipated, but it was a highly unusual situation and an extremely extraordinary story.
The task force's findings investigating the causes of the disaster could not prevent conspiracy theories from emerging. Some locals began to claim that foreign countries had dropped a secret bomb and that it was part of an international scientific conspiracy. However, the exact cause of the gas release in 1986 is still unknown. One of the most accepted hypotheses is that there was a landslide at the bottom of the lake. For the people living in the Nyos region, it remains a potential threat. To prevent a disaster similar to the one in 1986, a system of pipes has been installed to safely divert the carbon dioxide if it is released. This haunting event remains a reminder of nature's unpredictable power and the importance of ongoing vigilance to ensure such a tragedy never happens again. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more interesting content. See you soon in other videos.